bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and tonight we're going to do the secret history of Twitter. That's right. And we're going to jump straight into it. What do you know? What don't you know? I'm going to do a little deep dive into the history and how it all started and where some of the controversies rose. We're going to get into all of that. Much of this you probably don't know. And right now, with everything that is going on, and of course, I'm referring to Elon Musk and everything that is happening around Twitter right now. But what is the real story, right? And I think a lot of us have been to a different side of Twitter lately, which is the last few years. But what went on before and how was it established? And certainly the global players that have been and currently are still involved with Twitter, state actors and actors. So we're going to get into all of that. And of course, where we are today. Now, the basics of the basics are this. Also, I do want to say from the outset that I am not going to be looking at comments or anything like that or commenting on the comments or questions throughout the program. Once I get to the end of this, and it is lengthy, I may refer back to the chat and to Twitter to see the comments there and see if there's anything that needs to be addressed. But more than likely, at the end of this, it'll be a wrap. Okay. And the second thing I want to say, and I'm going to comment on this a couple of spots tonight, that I met Jack Dorsey very, very early on into the life of Twitter. So there is that side, right? There's a personal connection here, and I need to leave all of that. I need to remain objective. But I did find Jack to be, from the very beginning, I didn't even know who he was at first. And if you know what I mean, his background and all of that stuff. But I always found him to be very nice, very smart, sports fan too as well, which is kind of weird for a geek. And he had told me a couple of strange things. Oh, should I say these? Well, it's just that I like the guy, right? And he was cool to me. So, but all of that needs to be pushed to the side, because once you know some of these inside things about Twitter, it's just a crazy story. It's a crazy story. And it all started, Twitter was created by Jack Dorsey, Noah Glass, Biz Stone, and Evan Williams back in March of 2006. And it was launched in July of 2006. Now, that is now starting to get to be quite a while ago. When I met Jack, which was 2009, right in there, Twitter was just turning into something closer to what we see today. All right. but it was just 2006. And so much has happened. This show is now into its 10th year today, officially, right? We're into our 10th year. And if I go back and think about 2010, 2011, 2012, very early on, how I dealt with Twitter, and you can go back and historically look at my tweets. I always treated Twitter like it was my own company. It was just a way for me to advertise and to market. I focused on sports in the beginning. I never really, from the outset, got involved in controversy or, would post things or would go and look for that stuff too as well. I just never did. So I have adapted to it over the years more and more into just a tool for me to get stuff out about the program, who we have on and stuff. I just never got into the drama that is out there in and around Twitter and what it turned into. So let's continue, because what is Twitter? Now, let's just start there. What is Twitter? Well, a definition would be it's an online social media and social networking service where users like myself and you post and interact with messages that are called tweets. Twitter tweets, okay? Registered users, if you have an account, you can you can post, and you can retweet tweets, redistribute tweets. It's called retweeting. While unregistered users can only read public tweets. That's all. There is no interaction at all. Tweets were originally, and this is part of the historical record, it was a big change. Tweets were originally restricted to 140 characters, but the limit was doubled to 280 back in November 2017. And I remember sitting with Jack discussing that. I mean, let me think about this now. This is probably 8 years before that, around 2010, 2009. I was like, dude, 140 characters. What can you do with 140 characters? And he had explained to me, it's just the SMS limit. And we based everything around that. I'll get back into it. But the way that he explained it to me at the time, I was like, I just don't get it. 140 characters is not enough. All right. And I was very excited in 2017 when it was up to 280. I thought, man, now after compressing everything to 140 characters and being able to jump this up to 280, and now 280 doesn't, it's not nearly enough. We all know that, but it allows you, in my opinion, to get to the point. I compress it down. No reason for anything lengthy. If you got to do something long, do it on your own blog or go post on Facebook. But nonetheless, the ways around that, take a picture of something and post that, your long, first chapter of your book or what have you, or a link to something external. But then on April 15th, 2022, in one of the biggest deals to take a company private, the board of directors of Twitter agreed to a $44 billion takeover by Elon Musk. That deal closed on October 27th, 2022. That's right. We all know Elon Musk is now the owner of Twitter. Now, obviously, this is a very, very brief overview. Let's just go straight to it. It's time to jump into the deep end of the pool. Okay? That's it. We need to make sure it's at least 12 feet deep, by the way. You don't want to hit bottom. Twitter's origins lie in a day-long brainstorming session described by many that were there, held by board members of the podcasting company Odeo. Jack Dorsey, then an undergrad student at New York University, introduced the idea of an individual using an SMS service to communicate with a small group. That's the germ of the idea. Gets plopped right there by Jack Dorsey. Now, the original project code name for the service was TWTTR. Okay? An idea that Williams later ascribed to Noah Glass, inspired by Flickr. Flickr didn't have that E. Get it? And the 5-character length of American SMS short codes. So that was it, TWTTR. The decision was also partly due to the fact that the domain twitter.com was already claimed. Somebody owned it. And it was 6 months after the launch of TWTTR that the crew purchased the domain and changed the name of the service to Twitter, as we know it today, TWITTER. Now, work on the project started on March 21st, 2006, when Dorsey published the first Twitter message at 12:50 p.m. Pacific time, and it was, quote, just setting up my Twitter, TWTTR, end quote. That was the first Twitter published tweet. Dorsey had explained the origin of the name Twitter with this, and so I'm quoting directly from Jack. He said, quote, we came across the word Twitter, and it was just perfect. The definition was, quote, a short burst of inconsequential information, end quote. And, quote, chirps from birds, end quote. And to me, that's exactly what the product was, end quote. So that's the origin of the name. Now, the first Twitter prototype developed by Dorsey and contractor Florian Weber was used as an internal service for Odeo employees. The first version was introduced publicly July 15th, 2006. Now, in October 2006, you had Stone, you had Williams, you had Dorsey and others, formed a Obvious Corporation, and they acquired Odeo, including Odeo.com and Twitter.com. All of these were possessions and owned by Odeo. And they purchased this and acquired it from their investors and their shareholders. Okay, but what was Twitter at that time? How did people look at it? You know, because some were saying, including myself, was it just shared information between users, right? SMS, short messages. Is it just, you know, in a company, you know, and just sharing information? It's something internal. Or was it a social network, right? And back then, there were a few social networks, and of course, Facebook was just starting to as well. And you know, we had AOL and other things, you know. So was it one of those? Well, back then, nothing was clearly defined at the time, and I had conversations with Jack about this. I personally didn't understand what it was. I mean, to me, it was just like a public SMS. It was just texting, right? I didn't get it. And although he agreed with me, he said, yes, it is just SMS, a public version of texting. But he kept telling me it could be so much more and a global thing. Now, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I didn't. In 2007, check this out. especially compared to today, right? And I'll go through all of this. 2007, Twitter was averaging around 20,000 tweets per day. Oh, man, we do that many in our chat room per show, right? Okay, so think about that. Think about that for a second. Just 20,000 tweets per day. And then in 2007, South by Southwest happened in Austin, Texas. That's right. Twitter showed up. Twitter attended. And at this time, Twitter's just doing 20,000 tweets a day. That's it. Very small. But Twitter showed up. And the Twitter people placed just two 60-inch plasma screens in the conference hallways. That's it. That was the turn. But on these two screens, they were exclusively streaming Twitter messages, right? And so the conference goers there attending South by Southwest walk down these hallways, and they would go up to these screens and see who was posting. And they were keeping tabs on each other. Wasn't that many users, right? And so they could see all the action from South by Southwest there. There were tweets from panelists, musicians, and speakers, and so forth. And then on different panels and discussions that were happening, they, in turn, were mentioning Twitter. And everybody in the audience is hearing this. They're signing up for Twitter, right? Now, at the end of South by Southwest, I remember all of this. I was reading about it. South by Southwest, right? The Twitter staff received the festival's Web Award Prize. And then there was this tweet. We'd like to thank you in 140 characters or less. We just did. So those moments at South by Southwest turned the ship. Remember those 20,000 tweets per day up to South by Southwest in 2007? Well, after South by Southwest, Twitter experienced an explosion. It was crazy. It had around 500,000, between 400,000 and 500,000 tweets posted in the entire first quarter of 2007. That's it. This grew to 100 million tweets posted per quarter in 2008, 6 months later. By February of 2010, Twitter users were sending 50 million tweets per second. So we go back, 20,000 tweets per day in the entire day. It's 6 months later, 100 million, in a quarter. It's a huge growth. And then you just jump a year and a half later, 50 million tweets per day. Now, by June 2010, we're at February 2010. Okay? By June 2010, about 65 million tweets were posted each day. That's 750 tweets per second. That's February. By September, or that's June, by September 2010, the company began rolling out new Twitter. I remember this, an entirely revamped edition of Twitter.com. It looked pretty fancy. Kind of looked like Facebook. I use Twitter black. I use Twitter dark. And as soon as you were able to do that, I needed to know that I was on two different platforms. And that's how I did it, because they looked very, very similar. 6 months later, that was September 2010. 6 months later, in March 2011, everything more than doubled to about 140 million tweets posted daily. Just 6 months later, on February 21st, 2012, it was announced this was a big deal. This is where the conspiracy started. That's because Twitter and Yandex agreed to a partnership. Yandex is a Russian search engine. You need to pause right there and absorb that. 30 days later, March 21st, that was February 21st, March 21st, 2012, Twitter announced that it had 140 million users, a 40% rise in just 6 months, with users now sending 340 million tweets per day. At this point, half of them are Russian. I kid. No, I'm not. Maybe. Am I? On December 18th, 2012, Twitter announced it had surpassed 200 million monthly active users. By September 2013, Twitter's 200 million users sent over 400 million tweets daily, with nearly 60% of the tweets sent from mobile devices. Take note of that. Now, starting in 2018. Let's back up before I forget. All this growth was happening. Growth, doubling numbers, growth. And then around 2015, everything stopped. Well, it slowed, and it slowed greatly. And all of this, according to Fortune and Business Insider and other publications that were monitoring Twitter very closely, as was I. Now, starting in 2018, the conspiracy behind all of this really started to kick in because tweet replies deemed by an algorithm, right, to be detractive. Now, so what does that mean? So you've posted your tweet, and then you get a reply, and then an algorithm comes in and looks at that reply. And if it's not part of the conversation that was started in the tweet, right, that conversation, they were hidden. That was done by an algorithm, right, not a human being. And you started to see this. And you could only see those tweets through clicking on that button that said, "No, show more replies." And that was at the end, right? That was this element at the bottom of the conversation. That was an algorithm creating that. And I know a lot of you thought at the time, and I know that I did, right, that, it's just too long. And so therefore, you have to click on that to see the rest of the That's not why that was there. That was there because an algorithm came in and decided that somebody's reply wasn't relevant. Very interesting. As opposed to Facebook, right? Where you got more, you've got Instagram, you've got more, and everything is there, and you can clean that up and see newest first and most relevant and all of that stuff. But that wasn't the case with Twitter. Twitter had an algorithm running and reading the tweets and the replies. Now, on October 21st, 2021, a report was published a report that was based on a long-running, massive-scale, randomized experiment that analyzed millions of tweets sent between April 1st to August 15th, 2020. And that report found that Twitter's machine learning algorithm amplified right-leaning politics on personalized user home timelines. Now, what does that mean? It was making decisions for you about what you were going to see. And the report compared 7 countries with active Twitter users where data is actually available. And that is Germany, Canada, the United Kingdom, Japan, France, and Spain. All right, now what does that have to do with American politics? Researchers used the 2019 Chapel Hill Expert Survey to position parties on political ideology within each country. The machine learning algorithms introduced by Twitter in 2016 personalize 99% of users' feeds by displaying tweets, even older tweets in some cases, and retweets in other cases from accounts the user had not directly followed. And we still see it today. But that the algorithm had deemed relevant to that account. Very interesting. That was 99%. Twitter then also, at the same time, randomly chose 1% of users whose home timelines displayed content in reverse chronological order from users that they directly followed. Messing with your head. What is a Twitter bot? I think we all have ideas, right? And we hear it all the time. But let me help you out. Twitter bot is a computer program. That's what it is. A Twitter bot can automatically tweet. It can automatically retweet. And it can automatically follow other accounts. All of this is because Twitter's open application programming and its interface and the availability of cloud servers make it possible for the bots to exist. Right now, as you hear my voice. Now, I know a lot has been tweeted and commented on, certainly by Elon Musk lately since his takeover, that have you seen less Twitter bots? Have you seen less spam? Have you seen? No, you haven't. There's been no change. None. Twitter bots can generate creative content. They can. They can help a company with product updates, right? So you don't have to have somebody sitting there at a computer. You've got an update that happens and it goes onto your website, goes into user manuals, and boom, and it just aggregates and populates and does everything automatically, sends it out. Okay, but malicious bots can make unpopular people seem popular. Like me. But they could also push irrelevant products on users. I see it all day long. Man, I got bombed. I made a comment on the show a couple of weeks ago. It's getting bombed by like organic bird food companies. I was like, what, from Nigeria or something. It's like, where is this coming from? Right? But they can also spread misinformation. They can also spread spam. And they can also spread slander. The comments lately that you see, if you go and you take the time, and I did a lot of reading of comments and replies in Twitter in preparation for today. And it's pretty interesting how it doesn't matter, right, left, center, it doesn't matter. Everybody thinks everybody else is using bots. And the answer is both sides are. And it's probably not even a U.S. citizen doing it, more than likely. Now, right now, 2022 estimate, 2022, forget about Elon Musk, listen to me, has put the figure at 15% of all Twitter accounts. That's over 50 million accounts are bots. Think about that for a second. Yeah. 2 out of 10. Now, remember Yandex, the Russian search engine that partnered with Twitter? Okay. Now, I ask you to park that and to think about that. Yandex. Okay. That's Russia's version of Google, owned by Putin. Okay. Well, even though they partnered with Yandex, Twitter today is completely banned in Russia. It's also completely banned in China and Iran. Well, and of course, North Korea too as well. And it's been intermittently blocked in Egypt. Remember the Arab Spring? Egypt, Iraq, Nigeria, Turkey, of course, Venezuela. Absolutely. These bots. Twitter removed more than 88,000 propaganda accounts linked to Saudi Arabia. You guys see that picture of Elon? You guys saw that, right? With Jared. Oh, man. Standing behind a couple of princes. Maybe they were from Qatar. Maybe not. I don't know. But you saw the pictures, right? 88,000 propaganda accounts linked to Saudi Arabia. Twitter has removed 175,000 propaganda accounts that were spreading biased political narratives for both China and Russia. In December 2019, Twitter removed 5,929 accounts for violating their manipulation policies. The company investigated and attributed to these accounts to a single state-run information operation in Saudi Arabia. That's right. All of those accounts of 5,929 were all connected to those 88,000 other accounts. Now, after all of this, right now, in Elon Musk's version of Twitter in 2022, as of December, the top 3 countries spreading state-linked Twitter misinformation are still Russia, China, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. Okay, serious face. In November 2020, then Chief Technology Officer and future CEO of Twitter, Parag Agrawal, when asked about the protection of free speech, said this, quote, "Our role is not to be bound by the First Amendment, but our role is to serve a healthy public conversation. Focus less on thinking about free speech, but thinking about how the times have changed." End quote. In 2019, Twitter was announced to be the 10 most downloaded mobile app of the decade from 2010 to 2019. Right now, the biggest Twitter accounts, and here's the thing before I go down this list. Twitter, as opposed to other social media, and that includes like Telegram, but Instagram and Facebook and just about anything else that you can talk about. Twitter has become the de facto news source from the media and those news outlets, but also countries, heads of state, governments around the world. They announce their news, their policy changes on Twitter. So do corporations, product announcements, promotions, marketing campaigns. It's done through Twitter. Its importance and how it got to that point cannot be measured. But also, and it's not just Instagram. Twitter's biggest accounts, and you may not know this, but I'll tell you now, Barack Obama is number one. 133 million followers. It's pretty extraordinary, actually. Number two is Elon Musk. Last week, Elon Musk was sitting at 111 million followers. In the last week, he's picked up 11 million more. Elon Musk at number two is sitting at 122 million followers. Now check this out. Number three, Justin Bieber. That's right. He was ahead of Elon last week. He was number two. He's sitting there at number three now this week at 113 million followers. Number four, Katy Perry, 109 million. Number five, Rihanna, 107 million. Number six, Ronaldo. That's right, football player, soccer, 104 million. Number seven, Taylor Swift, 91 million followers. And number eight, Lady Gaga, 84 million followers. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? And you think about the influence and some of the comments that are made, these are the users of Twitter. Justin Bieber, Katy Perry, Rihanna, Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga. Think about that. But it is a global influence. And with all of this, all of the information that I have given you tonight, Twitter, its global influence, its handling of information, dealing with ideas like freedom of speech, information, spam, bots, misinformation, hacking of accounts, advertising, global actors, state actors, as well as code writing, engineering, design, all of that was done with just 7,500 employees. Just 1 week after taking control of Twitter, Elon Musk began laying off half of that workforce. We all know that now. Yesterday, Twitter announced that it was banning users linking to what were referred to as prohibited platforms. This was yesterday, including Facebook, Mastodon, Instagram, Trump's Truth Social, as well as third-party link aggregators such as Linktree. 6 hours after his announcement, Musk tweeted, quote, "Going forward, there will be a vote for major policy changes. My apologies won't happen again," end quote. That was yesterday. He also tweeted a poll yesterday asking users if he should remain head of Twitter, promising to abide by its results, in which 57.5% of the 17.5 million votes were in favor of him stepping down. That poll closed earlier today. That's right, over 17 million votes. Now, here's the question. Would Elon just walk away from Twitter? Right? Would he just walk away after blowing it up in just 2 short months? Would he do that? I don't know. But we'll soon find out. Because if he is as quick to respond to his poll from yesterday as he was with other poll results over the last month, and right now nobody can predict the future or have any idea or opinion on what effect vaporizing $44 billion will have on Elon. Nobody knows. Or his investors. Nobody knows. Or his banks. Nobody knows. And nobody knows if he actually cares. Now, if this does happen and he just walks away, what will happen to the company and its platform? Or what's left of it, for that matter? Will it be sold? Will it die on the vine? I don't know. What's its value going to be? Or, even crazier still, will it become the biggest media giant in the history of mankind? Totally possible. Will it be the critical puzzle piece of Skynet or Starlink? I don't know. One thing is for sure. Russia, China, and Saudi Arabia need Twitter to survive. They don't want Twitter to go away. There is no replacement for it. But wait a minute. They all have money at stake here. I changed my mind. Twitter ain't going anywhere. It's not. With that, I'm going to let you go. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. It's been a crazy ride. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. It's been a crazy couple of months. I don't know what Elon's announcement is going to be tomorrow. We're going to have to wait and see. I'll report back to you. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJ Sierra for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night with Susan Slaughter, I want you to be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.